Well, let me ask you this. I've heard some grumblings behind the scenes with some NFL players that I've talked to, some retired players, and some people that are involved in a lot of talks behind closed doors. And there's a lot of rumblings about Los Angeles getting a football team. And there's some talk that there's a stadium in the works to be built. So if they're putting in a stadium, they're probably going to fill it with a team, you'd have to imagine. There's also been a lot of talk that the Jacksonville Jaguars are having a little bit of trouble filling seats and getting some interest in their football team. Do you think that Jacksonville would take, as a business decision, and take a flyer on a Florida kid who's going to drum up a ton of popularity like Tim Tebow and just say he may not be the player that we need per se for the roster, but we need for the business of football? Do you think that could be a possibility?
I think it's been talked about, but I think at the end of the day they don't do it. Because you're drafting a kid, yeah, it's going to bring in fans for the first couple of games, but then if he can't beat out David Garrard for the starting position and he's standing on the sidelines, people are going to lose interest. Or if he does beat out David Garrard and you missed all those holes you needed on defense and you're losing every game, 34-7, I mean, people are going to lose interest then too. It doesn't matter how popular the kid is. It wouldn't get them past 1 year of selling tickets unless he really happens to blossom for them. The team has a lot of needs, and the best way to put fans in the stands is to win. You want to have a winning product out there on the field, and I know Jacksonville really hasn't been a terrible team over the past several years, but they haven't been able to put it all together, and a lot of that's because they've had a lot of holes on the defensive side of the ball. So if they address those needs, they can get in a tighter race in the AFC there. I think that'll put more long-term fans in the stands than Tim Tebow would. And plus, the cost of a first-round draft pick. Just a first-round quarterback alone, which is what he's going to require, no matter what position you line him up at. His agent Jimmy Sexton isn't going to let him sign a contract for anything other than a quarterback. So you've got all that money spent. I think the team would actually lose money in the long run because he's going to take 2 or 3 years to fully develop.
You don't want to miss on a first-round quarterback, as we know it sets you back a long time as far as the franchise is concerned. Okay, let's go ahead real quick. Top 5 players, regardless of position, in this draft that you are just saying these guys are going to be studs in the NFL for years to come. They're the best players, regardless of position. Who do you got?
The first one I'm going to talk about is Ndamukong Suh. I haven't seen a defensive lineman like him come along in some time. And I know a lot of people are really high on Gerald McCoy. He's going to be the second player I talk about. But Suh was just downright took over games. I mean, if you put on the tape from the Texas game, if you put on the tape from the Missouri game last year, I mean, it was like he was the entire defense. He was everywhere on the field. Gerald McCoy is the second one, obviously. Ideal 3 technique. I mean, he shoots the gap quicker than any defensive tackle in this draft and probably in the past several drafts. I look for him to really be a sack master once he gets into the league. Eric Berry will be my third, in the mold of Ed Reed. And a lot of people get down on Eric Berry because his stats came down in 2009, but you can't buy into that. Monty Kiffin came in, he changed the defensive scheme. He played up in the box more than he had during his entire time at Tennessee. So the interceptions did go down, but I mean he's a well-rounded player. He's much better in run support than Earl Thomas could ever be. He's got a bigger frame. He's not afraid of contact. He can actually put a hit on people. Just ask Tebow in that Tennessee game this year. So I think he will be the third person. C.J. Spiller from Clemson. The guy's a true home run hitter. Anytime he's got the ball in his hands, he's just a threat to score. What that kid can do on special teams, it's incredible. I think a team is going to fall in love with him and wrap him up and put the ball in his hands as many times as they can a game. Other than that, I mean, there's a little bit of a drop-off there. I'm not really high on the quarterbacks, as I said earlier. We graded out Russell Okung. He's going to get drafted in the top 5. He'll probably be the number 4 pick to Washington. I don't really know if I would put him in my top 5 overall players that I'm just enamored with. But someone else that would be in the conversation as maybe someone who they're not talking about as much as Sean Weatherspoon from Missouri. I think this kid is just a tackle machine. I racked up over 100 tackles the past several years at Missouri. Was always around the ball. He has a little bit of trouble with bigger, stronger blockers, but I mean he just has a nose for the football. He's going to get there. He's going to make the short tackle, and the kid's a leader. You should have seen him at the Senior Bowl. He had that entire North roster rallied around him. I mean, he's very vocal in practice. Just absolutely loves football. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 pick, and I don't think he deserves to be. But as far as top 5 favorite players in this draft, I got to include him in that list.
Well, Will, we greatly appreciate your insight. We greatly appreciate your time. I'm Tebow with SkinnyPost.com. This is Will Spencer with DraftBreakdown.com. Be sure to stop by his site. You can check out all of the players that they've graded and evaluated. Tons of scouting reports, tons of great stuff to check out as we head into the draft this week. And we appreciate your time, Will. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Take care now.